Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And that's why we're excited to have with us Noah Glenn, founder of Like You Film Club. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Well, when you talk about film, storytelling, art to be able to power the good and make a difference, I love this topic. So let's start out though with a little bit of your background. So give us a little bit of your background and what led you to launch this initiative.
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick, but my background, I'm a filmmaker here in Memphis. I've made a number of short films, worked a lot with Indie Memphis over the years, and even backing up beyond that, talking about good things for the city. I was part of the team that launched Choose 901 back, I guess it's been 15 years or so now. And so I always had that focus on highlighting the amazing things happening around Memphis. And in my experience there and with city leadership, the organization that runs Choose 901 introduced me to a lot of education organizations who are doing great work academically focusing on, making sure kids were academically prepared, college ready, job ready, all those things. But over time, I found myself wanting to see more of that focus and effort put on the social and emotional development of kids and, just enriching their lives, making sure they're, fully formed, mentally well people as they grow. And so as a filmmaker, that began to creep into my film work. And I did a short film in 2021 called The Devil Will Run about a young child. It was really focused on childhood anxiety and fears and what do you do? Who do you share those things with? And ended up winning a bunch of awards and going into children's film festivals across the country. And that sort of opened up my eyes to, I had done traditional film festivals. It's my first experience with children's film festivals. And I had so much fun going to these festivals in Seattle and New York and Chicago and Boston. And I thought, why isn't there an experience like this back in Memphis? And so we have a focus on the emotional development, mental health of kids, giving them tools for understanding themselves and their world through film and the stories that they encounter, the conversations that we can have around those films.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the fact too that you traveling around to children's film festivals, seeing the power of them, but obviously the void here in the Mid-South and saying, okay, let's do something about this. So go ahead and dive into Like You Film Club in terms of what you do, the mission. Go ahead and dive in.
Yeah, so Like You Film Club is a new nonprofit. It's a year-round, call it a celebration of movies for kids and their families. So, roughly monthly screenings of family-friendly films, trying to focus as much as possible on things that all ages can enjoy, that parents like as much as the kids do, that if you've got a family with ages that span the range from 4 years old to teenagers to college kids, that there's something that everyone can come together and enjoy. And then we've got the annual film festival, which we're launching this November at the Pink Palace. But the goal of all of this is to create community and conversation around the stories. And as I said, the mission underlying it is to equip kids to better understand themselves, find their place in the world, harnessing the power of film and creative media to help do that. And I think it's really a powerful thing as a kid to see a story on screen that you relate to, that you can see yourself in, that you feel understood. I love the films where there's a young character who feels left out, misunderstood, down on themselves, and through the course of the story can discover their worth and their value and finding their place. And so trying to connect kids with those stories, and also connecting kids with stories that help them broaden their worldview and their perspective. And, you know, as much as travel can, for a lot of people, have a big impact on their development, I think for kids who travel is not accessible, a great film is another way to experience worlds beyond the bubble of your neighborhood and your environment.
And I think all that obviously plays into the name, Like You Film Club. And so carry that into how you curate the different films that are shown, you know, obviously sparking all of this. So how do you go about on the selection process? Talk about a little bit of the business side of this.
Sure. And referencing the name, I'll also should have dropped into my background that I've run a children's mindfulness podcast since 2020 called Like You Mindfulness for Kids. And again, really, it's lots of worlds coming together to make this festival happen of what I had established with that, you know, emotional development of the podcast, joining in with my film career, and that's led to this festival. And so we've got broad range of types of films. A lot of it, especially on the short film side, is coming through open submissions that filmmakers across the country and around the world can submit through an online platform. And, you know, we've got hundreds of submissions. I have a team of volunteer screening committee, making sure we're getting 2 or 3 people to watch and rate every film. So we have some various perspectives on what's good, what we need to be programming. And then on the feature side, it's a lot of just hitting the pavement, so to speak, and seeing what's out there that's playing at other festivals, or maybe being released internationally but hasn't had a release in the US, and just finding great feature films that Memphis may not otherwise have a chance to go see.
When you look at a film festival type environment, part of the magic is obviously the exposure to different films and stories that you wouldn't see every day. The other side, though, is, to your point, building a sense of community and having conversations, and sometimes having the filmmakers and the different, you know, actors and such there. But really, it's a chance to have a conversation, a deeper understanding. Carry that into some of the elements that really are special pieces of this beyond the film experience of what you're trying to create with this larger sense of community and understanding.
Yeah, so we are looking at, you know, we like to say this is more than just screen time. And community is a big part of it, and conversation is a big part of it. And, you know, I'm working with educators as well as filmmakers to, like, with each film that we show, think about what's the context we want to set up? What do you need to know going into this film? What are some things we can introduce the film, have the audience, you know, pay attention to this, look for this, think about this when this happens. And then creating supports around that, encouraging conversation afterwards, whether it's a Q&A with a visiting filmmaker, or whether it's just a kind of led by our team, conversations about the themes and the stories. And but really, as much as possible, trying to invite that feedback from the audience. And, you know, when you sit at home and watch Netflix on the couch, that's one experience. But to come, you know, back into a theater with a big group of people and know that we all just watched the same thing together, and to hear someone else's ideas and response to what they just saw that may be different from yours, that may open up something new, is something that we encourage. But again, we're working with on a case-by-case basis with each film. Like, what are the things beyond just watching? What are the supports and the context and the interactive conversational elements that we can have about what's happening in each of these films?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the magic, just like we're talking about. So go ahead and dive in deeper on the details for the Like You Children's Film Festival, November 22nd and 23rd. So talk about how people can learn more, get involved. Give us some of those major details.
Yeah, so you gave me a great start. November 22nd and 23rd, we're hosting it at the Pink Palace, and there'll be two screens there. A lot of people know their giant screen theater. There's a secondary theater there as well. So we'll be programming, there'll be 8 to 10 feature films. There'll be 8 to 10 blocks of short films that we've paired together thematically. And also, again, this idea of being more than just screen time, we're also planning workshops, classes with local filmmakers, giving introduction to different elements of filmmaking, crafts and activities, story time, just as many things as we can do outside of the theater to make it a really fun and engaging experience. And people can find out more. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Like You Film Club. And likeyoufilmclub.org is the website. We've got all the up-to-date information there. You can sign up for a newsletter to get all the news and updates. We'll be announcing the full schedule of the festival in probably mid-October. We're still in the open submission process, filmmakers submitting things. And so we've already got a good idea of a lot of things we want to play, but we'll be really working on the programming. So definitely look into what the specifics of what we're going to be showing. And you can buy a pass to come all access to every screening and event for the whole weekend, and just make a whole family outing out of the whole weekend.
Yeah, and talk about that piece of it is when you talk about like a family-friendly environment, what age is most appropriate? Give us an idea of that sort of range.
Yeah, we want to have as much as we can that is all ages. Meaning, thinking of the classic movie rating system, the PG films that, a 5-year-old or a college student are going to enjoy just as much. I'd say our primary focus is on that elementary age range of, say, 4 or 5 to 12 or 13 or so. We'll definitely have some programming that may appeal more to teens. But the other thing is we're also working to have information with every listing, every film we show. What's our age recommendation, and what are the things you might want to know to make the decision for your family, because your family may have a different idea of what a 5 or 10-year-old is interested in or is ready for. But we're trying to provide that information of, we think this is great for 8 and up, and because of these themes and topics in the film that you might want to know about before you go into it.
You mentioned having a volunteer committee to help you go through all the different submissions. Talk about over the course of the year, different ways that individuals, other organizations, companies can support your efforts and be involved.
Yeah, we're definitely, this is, I don't know if I said, this is our first festival this year. So we're firing everything up for the first time and inviting anyone who is excited by this idea and wants to be a part of it. There's definitely volunteer opportunities. You can find info on our website of how you can sign up and plug in, because we'll need, everything from, by the time people are hearing this, we'll be through the programming process. But if you want to get onto a screening committee next year and help us watch films, we'd love to have you there. But we'll also need volunteers to scan tickets and answer questions and point people in the right direction and all sorts of things on the ground on the day of the event. And of course, we're also looking for community partners, sponsors, anyone who wants to see this new, we think of it as we're establishing a new family tradition for Memphis, that this is going to become that thing that families look forward to every fall. And so anyone that has any means to help us bring that to life, through partnerships, sponsorships, donations, we're certainly looking for those people as well.
Touch on the ripple impact of this too, in terms of, you mentioned like with the workshops, being able to introduce children to the power of filmmaking, the artistry, the business of it, the creativity, all of that. But opening up their eyes to the power of film and art to be able to create transformation, but also the career possibilities. And so touch on that piece, because I think for Memphis in the Mid-South, to look at it as a family engagement tool, as a family tradition that you're establishing, but also too as an opportunity to open their eyes for the youth to a whole new career path is a piece of this as well. So touch on kind of that element of the ripple impact down, for many years to come, what you're creating for Memphis in the Mid-South.
Absolutely. I'll also say, talking about that ripple effect, that one thing we are excited to do after the festival is to take these films that we've shown and find ways to continue to give these films life by connecting with schools for field trips or libraries and community centers to bring screenings into neighborhoods that maybe couldn't come to the festival itself. And we are really looking at, in the future, ramping up things like camps, filmmaking camps that are about that, the how-to of filmmaking. And you're right that there will be, I foresee amazing ripple effects in, skills training of, I'm by trade, I'm, as I said, a filmmaker and work in video production. So there's certainly that path of job training, job readiness that can come through learning the skills of filmmaking. But again, going back to our theme and our mission, the thing that really excites me about those workshops and classes is not necessarily that a kid's going to be ready to make a movie and use a camera and do the tools, but really it's that idea of like them discovering, oh, I have an idea, and a way to share that idea through a story, to use my voice, to show my perspective, to have the confidence of like learning to value their perspective, their experience, and to put that into something that can be shared with the world. That's what really gets me excited, is just that kind of that spark and the aha of a kid learning to use and appreciate their own voice.
Yeah, I love it. And especially the power of storytelling and confidence, just like you're talking about. So mention again, website, social media, where do we go to learn more and to get involved?
Yes, if you can remember Like You Film Club, you can find us in most places. LikeYouFilmClub.org is the website. Like You Film Club is our handle on Instagram and Facebook. Those are the best places. Signing up for the mailing list, which you can find on the website, is going to get you, what's playing next, what's the schedule, both for the festival and for year-round programming.
Well, once again, the date, November 22nd and 23rd at the Pink Palace, Like You Children's Film Festival. And as you mentioned, LikeYouFilmClub.org is the easy place to learn all about it and learn more and get involved. So Noah Glenn, founder of Like You Film Club, thank you for all you do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeremy. It was great talking with you.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.